was in a coma for about a week, and that's when I started becoming aware of things. And it took about a month to 2 months before I started really knowing how badly I was messed up. Anybody that was there that day could not believe I'm alive. I could barely believe I'm alive from what happened. And you know, the way I rationalize it is because that there's a reason for us being here. And you know, even though I may not understand it, I look at maybe this is part of my reason for being here. You know, maybe I need to help my brothers and sisters coming back, you know, by trying to teach them what I've learned, or you know, trying to help guide them to teach each other. And most of the people don't know what a TBI is. The VA can't really, you know, identify it sometimes. So you got guys that got out in 2002 who were in Afghanistan, guys that got out in 2004 that were in initial push for Iraq, hit by umpteen bombs and have no idea why they can't think right anymore, why they have a hard time studying, why they can't remember their kids' names.
Chris Lawrence offers a unique perspective into the medical issues facing our soldiers, and we learned a very important lesson from him. In order to improve the treatment for TBI, we must do a better job of first recognizing it, and then, collectively, admit just how serious and debilitating it can be.
The easiest thing for me to rehab was walking. That was by far the easiest.
We have, you know, our veterans, our young heroes who say, you know, losing this leg was nothing, Dr. Gordon. I couldn't balance my checkbook for you. I couldn't work for a year. I couldn't get in my car and find my way around my small town in Ohio.
Walking is a bone thing. People know how to deal with bones. Bones are easy. That was, you know, here's a new leg, take it out, walk around, you're gonna be good. That was pretty easy. A thing that got me, it was really, you know, my TBI, because they didn't really give me a test or a diagnosis like a serious one.
This particular conflict has, in my opinion, the most horrific casualty, which is someone's brain.
Physical injuries are the easiest. I say I'm lucky that I came back like this, because the guy that was in front of me got hit just as hard, but he didn't have any bones broken. But he has headaches constantly, you know, memory problems.
Our neurosurgeons will tell you that they'd rather take care of a patient that had a penetrating head wound with the damage along the track than somebody who has a significant concussive injury.
I was supposedly conscious for everything that happened, but I don't remember anything. I didn't know my injuries. I couldn't remember a week, 2 weeks, and when I came through, I would still miss weeks at a time of not knowing. I would watch movies and I would have no idea what was going on. I had all my limbs and everything, and most of my internal organs, but as time went on, you know, things had to get cut off, and some things had to get implanted, and some other injuries became a lot more apparent.
If you can't think, if you can't function, if you can't get in a car and find your way to the grocery store right around the corner, you can't make a living.
Once the medical community accepts that even a mild brain injury can wreak havoc on one's executive function, it will become easier to see how the life of a veteran suffering with TBI can quickly spin out of control. Dr. Gordon's unique and personal experience with TBI continues to be a positive factor in assisting the rehabilitation of our combat vets.
One of the reasons I'm so passionate about all of this is because I had my own traumatic brain injury that was fairly severe. At least it felt that way to me. I was unable to speak in sentences for about 6 weeks. I could not drive for about 6 weeks. I couldn't negotiate a left-hand turn for 6 months.
When I got my TBI inventory done, because it was so far out, they recognized that, yeah, I had one. These are the things I'm gonna have an issue with. But because it was so far out, the things that I had serious issues with, I more or less accommodated and I adjusted for. So they just told me, you know, when you go to school, you're gonna have a hard time studying. You're not gonna be able to remember things the same, so it's better you come up with a different study plan. Somebody speaks for more than 5 minutes, I start hearing meow, 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 meow.
That shows you the effects of these blast injuries, and it's particularly important if you ever go to a Friday night football game. If somebody is now knocked out, in 17 states in the United States, it is illegal to keep them in the game. There is legislation stating that you must remove them from the game and they cannot go back until a physician clears them. And yet, in our war zone, in our war theater, these young men and women are sometimes have 2 or 3 or 4, even in one day.
Friends of mine, good friends of mine, were hit 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Direct blast. Blew up a vehicle. Get out, get another one. Go back on patrol. There was no know, hey, go get your head checked out. You might have an issue.
It used to be what we would call concussion. Somebody got their bell rung. You know, all these little euphemisms that say, it's nothing, you know. In reality, a traumatic brain injury is any injury to the brain by an external force. And what we now know is that the effects of TBIs are additive. That is, each successive traumatic brain injury can cause much more severe injury, and that there may be lasting effects, even for an individual who had a momentary loss of consciousness or just a dazed appearance or a dazed feeling about them. They too can have lasting effects from the traumatic brain injury, primarily affecting mapping skills and memory and reaction times and laying down new knowledge.
I mean, look at the National Football League. I mean, the National Football League is concerned about football players hitting their heads together. An NFL football player committed suicide. What isn't known is that he shot himself in the chest. Didn't shoot himself in the head because he wanted his wife to have his brain to see if his bizarre behaviors and failures over the last 10 years was because of chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
These are the kind of problems that will absolutely ruin a life. And they not only ruin the warrior's life, they ruin the family life, they ruin the community life. And eventually, if we don't get them back into society with feeling productive about themselves and into productive jobs or education, we'll be paying for them, and we'll be paying for them in jail, or we'll be paying for them in a mental institution.
Now, we're worried about kids hitting their helmets together, and yet we are sending have sent and continue to send 1.9 million troops that are exposed to IEDs and blast waves all the time.
The military has changed so much that they're doing a lot now as opposed to then. I think the retroactive things, because so many guys have gotten out, like TBI really didn't start coming to the forefront of people's minds until late 2007, 2008, which means we were already 6-7 years into the war.
So we really need to go quite a distance yet with the Department of Defense, with our military, in order to get the proper treatment immediately after the blast injury.
I think that the military and the government overall, because of the recent awareness of TBI and whatnot, they're being very active right now in trying to catch it for what's going on out there. A lot of guys are getting sent back. There's very active treatment programs at the Naval Medical Centers trying to catch the guys with traumatic brain injuries and PTSD. But that's now. What about the then? Because I know when I came in, PTSD was a four-letter word. And God forbid we said it. And TBI, so many guys get out and they don't know what it is. They don't know they have it. So, you know, I just remember them. The hundreds of thousands that came before me and before this generation, these years now, that they may not know. Don't let them be forgotten.